Okay, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Test, test. Our third show of the day, Scarlet, Ireland. Not anyone that I've met before. And in typical Soulology style, we're going to get to know her in a conversation, conscious conversation, real-time intel with all our brothers and sisters being present. Just going to play a little intro and allow people time to come in. Got a little soul speak on the ascension that we all share. This unveiling, this apocalypse. You know, all this discussion of what is reality, conspiracy, heresy, truth that's stranger than fiction. Doesn't get any better than this. It's not just time to bring on the apocalypse, it's time to start riding it. It's not going to hurt us. Because one thing's for sure, in our conscious mind and even in our subconscious, if that's what you want to call it, we have always survived. And the reason for that is because we never die. So when it comes to ascension, what else is there to talk about? This ascension, unveiling, is not complicated. It's just a microcosm of the state of our being from any point, from this present moment to any point in our past. And in regard to the past, now we can look back to see, to awaken without the element of linear time. Yeah. Because the wisdom still comes, because the universe is never late. That means we can take from our past the powerful wisdom of the eternal moments, seen when we unveil the hurts and the blame given and received. You know, we've reached a point where forgiveness will cease to exist. Because perfection did not create forgiveness, but as a path to a higher perfection, a new reflection of itself, of ourselves. Yeah, it's true. It's just not necessary forgiveness, and neither is earth love. So we can stop chasing both right now and all the false securities and failed searches that go with the lofty goals of a moral world. Both the things that they put beyond our reach and the reasons they gave us for not being able to reach them. It's time to re-enter the fold of the immortal, the fold of the I Am soul. How's it going, everybody? Third show of the day. We got another one tonight, and we may have another one spontaneously later on today. We've got a new friend in the house. Welcome, everybody. Scarlet, Ireland. I'm going to pull her up on the screen now, and we're going to get to know her in real time, spontaneously, intuitively, creatively, imaginatively, and depending on what we're talking about, courageously. So let's get her up here. There you go. You got to unmute. You're muted. We want to hear your voice.
That's why I'm on here.
So what's happening, Scarlet, Ireland? It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. I'm happy to make the connection.
Thank you so much, Todd. Heartfelt, gratitude for this platform and what you are doing. And I'm so honored to be here. I'm nervous, but I heard the call.
So many of you are here in the call. Uh, I don't know your story, but I have a feeling that you've been doing this quite some time, uh, and anonymity, without any attention or notoriety. Probably had a few people tell you were crazy, but there's a lot of divine feminine incarnates on this earth that have been doing this work for a long, long time, and they are starting to step up. And that's what this platform is for. It's for that energy. As Solji told us 2 years ago, this is a platform for the voices of the Mother Goddess, and that includes men as well as women. A part of us that's been suppressed. So thank you for having the courage to step up.
Thank you for, I feel safe here. So thank you for that.
Good. That's what it's supposed to be. So the famous Soul Speaks 5D question is, when did you wake up?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, huh? I grew up like many of us in very sensitive child, in a, alcoholic family and abusive, whatnot, but not overly so, but, I had gifts that were squashed, of course, and went into the corporate world, went in, did what I was supposed to do, like a good girl. And 2000, I entered, I took my first yoga class in 2000, and my life changed. I was like, wow, I don't have to go through life like I was doing. I got some reprieve from some of the pressure and some of just the nonsense that I saw. So I continued on that path for solid 5 years. And in 2005, I took an intensive yoga course and met a guru, and was initiated into Kriya Yoga, which is energetic yoga. And I would say that was the big wake up call. Huge. When you're being initiated and someone's asking you, who are you? it's not a small thing. Not that I knew it at the time. But from that point, I volunteered and really immersed myself along with my husband. Was asked to go to teacher training in India, which I did in 2000. The first time was 2006, I believe. And went through an intensive meditation and process. Going to India, being a white girl from Detroit, going to India was quite an experience.
Hey, any white girl from Detroit, anybody from Detroit, I think, can hold their own anywhere,
Oh yeah,
any
yeah.
timeline, any dimension.
Right. I've been trying to get out of here since I got here, and it's like, yeah, no go.
Mhm.
But yeah, so just further was initiated into that path. And in 2007, I had a big job. I was in the corporate world. I was, on all accounts, I was slaying it. I was making a ton of money. I was doing very well in my career, married, have the big house, da 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 da. And I couldn't have been more miserable. And it's not the first time in my life that people have said I was crazy, but I resigned. Everyone thought I was crazy. But I knew it was an opportunity that I was not going to get again. And I knew there was nothing that I knew. Yeah, I knew it. I had to do it. So I did. I went to India for 3 months in intensive training. And without my husband was here, and stayed at the ashram in South India. And it was the most intense experience. I feel extremely blessed to have that experience. But it was otherworldly. It was hard. It was so hard. I mean, you get broken down and you just are not who you think you are, and you're shown that. So, I 3 months, every day I was like, can I go home? Can I go home? Can I go home? And stayed there 3 months, and then came home and continued to teach with this yoga group, satsang. And in the next year, it opened up, they go to Mount Kailash every year, or he was, not now, he isn't, to Mount Kailash, which is in Tibet. And it just happened. I was like, well, maybe I'll go someday. And all of a sudden, someone's handing me a phone saying there was a cancellation, get your passport, you're going. It happened that quick. And I'm like, I had 2 weeks to train for altitude, whatever, because people die, So I was like, okay. And I knew at that point, this had been a culmination of lifetimes. I knew that. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to Tibet. And I did. And that was, completely life-changing. I didn't die. And came back, and my life promptly hit me in the face at that point. Everything that I hadn't been dealing with, alcoholic family, dysfunction, my dysfunction, extreme, the everything hit the skids. So should they say, so, I got myself in therapy and, I lived. A lot of people don't live doing that. So, that's when the work really started. That's when it really started. So since then, that was 2009. A lot of things is still, living with my husband in our home, which is pretty energetically charged also. And, just walking the path like everyone is.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're doing it with a partner since day one.
It is pretty phenomenal. He went to India too. We're much more partners now. We've been married 23 years. We split though. It was over. We're done. You can't continue to go through these things and still have a marriage, like they say, And, I left, he stayed, and then, we thought we were done, but our house didn't sell. Yeah, our house didn't sell.
I guess the universe wanted you to have makeup, sacred sex.
Well, the universe was like, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I traveled since 2014, I've been traveling. That's a whole nother thing. But I came back in 2018, and yeah, we're standing kind of side by side, but we're doing our own things.
Yeah. You're individuals, and yeah, the marriage is a totally, different definition, I guess. Yeah.
Completely different than what we went into.
Yeah.
But,
and then you have this, which a lot of people talk about, the third energy created by two people, and that's the type of thing that might occur is when you can't sell your house and you're stuck in the middle with you. Remember that song?
Yeah.
Morgan and I had and you talk about you separated. And I think, from what Morgan and I have been together almost 5 years, and there's been numerous separations, but they're really energetic separations that allow us to expand and then come back together again. And we went through a little period like that about a week ago, and I said, I got to go to the mountain. I got to go, and so I did. And I went up to the mountain, and it started raining. So I went to find a hotel, And so I went to the hotel, I checked in, I walked outside just to kind of take a breath. And of course, you always have that dialogue going, right? And I said, universe, what's going on here? Like, I mean, things are heating up. It's 2020. We're elevating every week. We're having these massive transformations individually and as a couple. And all of a sudden that song came on. And I was like stuck in the middle with you. And of course, I understood what it was saying. Like, there's so many people that are, because of the quarantine, that are rooted in places where the light workers had been traveling a lot, moving around a lot like you did. But it seems like there's some rhyme to the reason there. But yeah, that third energy is powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not something to quibble with, really. Kind of say, all right, what to do,
Well, I want to go back to, because I haven't heard a whole lot. I've got a lot of friends in India. I've never been to an ashram, I don't think, but I know people that have. I contemplated it when I was more of a homeless hobo than I am now, and living out of a suitcase. I looked into a few in San Francisco and New York. Now, you said that first one that you went to in South India, that you wanted to come home every day. You said it was hard. You were, and you said you lived, but I have a feeling that you lived because you died a whole bunch while you're over there. What was that like? I'm just curious. You mentioned that yoga was an energetic yoga, which I'd never heard that term before.
Yeah, I went to the same ashram. So it was the same yoga group or, following the whole time. So I went to the same ashram 3 times, well, more than 4 times, I think. The ashram, I can't speak to any other ashram that I haven't been to, but the ashram that I went to, because the Sadhguru, who is the guru, he is very intense, and he's an energy yoga, which is Kriya. Okay, there's a lot of different arms of yoga, which asana is the physical aspect of it. You've got bhakti, which is, love, the love aspect of it. Karma yoga, which you're serving. So those are just a few. So the Kriya yoga, he's dealing in energetic aspects. And it's a very, very established energetic center. It's very intense. If you think you're a badass in energy or whatever, like, go ahead, and I kind of did, I really, for about a day,
Yeah.
So, getting cut down, like, this is not you. Whoever you've built yourself up over these lifetimes, it is not you. And he has the Dhyana Linga there, which is a physical encapsulation of the meditation process. And it's extremely powerful, but you can just go in there and sit. You don't have to do all these practices and whatnot. It's extremely supportive. But with that, you're shedding. For me, it was emotional. Some people get physically, they shed physically. Other people, it's other things. I was very emotional. I shed a lot emotionally. But you're getting connection with these different dimensions, but you're getting the support. You're not out here it's much harder out here because you're almost protected in that environment. Yeah. You are protected.
Yeah.
You are protected. But when you're going through, it's not fun.
So what happens, fast forward a little bit, we'll go back and forth on this nonlinear timeline.
Yes.
So you go into the ashram, you're an energetic badass for a day. And then because you're challenged with the question of who are you, basically. And then you go through this, and then many years later, who are you? How would you answer that question now?
Who am I? Wow, there's that question. It was coming back to me. I am everything and I am nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
And it depends on each nanosecond moment. I can't
It's
even
like
give.
it's like a perpetual life review.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a mini life review last week, uh, about 3 or 4 hours, middle of the night, whatever. But I came out of it just thinking, well, the same question. I asked the same question of myself. Now, who are you now? And it was the same thing. I know less than I did before, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's something that doesn't make sense from a human perspective about it. But it's what I got out of it was the difference between surrendering and giving up. And so when you surrender in the I guess the higher perspective definition, the result is abundance. When you give up, you're actually giving your power away. That's a totally different trip, which we're all familiar with to some degree or another.
It's so interesting that you brought this up because someone else said this to me. I mean, there's no mistakes, because I've given up. We all have given up,
Oh yeah.
you
Beam
know.
me up, beam me up, get me out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Can I leave? Please let me leave. But that surrender when you are nothing, when you get to that point, that's where the beauty is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we fight it, we fight it because this
Yeah.
is where we're at. We're in this dualistic place and whatnot,
Yeah, and you can't fake it either. I mean,
No.
many times, Morgan and I, we lay in bed at night, put our hands together, and then we connect. And it hasn't been so much lately, but there was quite a bit of, I would say it was very frequent, like every couple of weeks. They would say, "Are you ready to go higher?" And yes. Are you willing to give him up, her up? Yes. For the greater good, yes. But what we found was every time we energetically separated or pulled our pull all of our aspects back into ourselves, however you want to put it, when we came back together, whatever we gave up was like exponentially enhanced, like beyond what you could even comprehend, beyond words. And I think that applies to couples and individuals, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't go into it saying, okay, well, I'm going to give that up, really thinking you're going to get something. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
It's got to be okay.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Because if you do it before, it's just you're going to circle back around and create more, suffering for yourself.
Yeah. The only one you're deluding is yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what I meant by you can't fake it, because you can't go, oh, well, I know if I do this, this is going to happen. It's more like you're in the middle of the shift storm. You're like, well, what's happened to me this year? It's like, okay, if I'm in the middle of something, and the great thing about this year is that we all seem to be moving through things quicker, although it doesn't alleviate or de-emphasize the intensity. No. But in the middle of it, I can say to myself, well, I know whenever the hell that's going to be, that I'm going to expand on the other side of this, and, but of course, in that moment, it's, I can tell you this year, I probably had at least four times where I've said, get me out, I'm done. And I'm in a beautiful relationship. I have a beautiful body of work that I'm involved with, this collaboration Soulology. And, but still, it's just like, hey, I'm done. Stick a fork in me.
I get it. I am so with you on that. But it doesn't seem to last as long.
No, this year's something, the whole equation's changed, especially it seems to me, I don't know, what are your thoughts, but to me, June 1st, like something happened. Like I literally walked outside and said, I've done it before. We've all done it. Oh my God, the world looks different, but it wasn't the visuals. It was something else. It was like something in the air, something had shifted, like something had gone beyond a tipping point, and everything since then has proven to me that at least in terms of a trajectory, things have changed. They're not the same. Nothing works like it used to.
No, I would completely agree with that. I always say to my husband, I'm like, oh, get ready for this week, because this week is going to be, and I just stopped saying it because every week, I can't even like verbalize some of these things. So sometimes I'm just hanging on. I'm like, okay, and other times it's like, wow, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And the quickness, everything's just so quick. Like it's happening, but it's just, I can't even explain it. But yeah, that June 1st, and even last week and the week before were something.
My God.
There was some sort of shift that I was just like, wow.
Last week was, well, what is today? Tuesday? But last week was just like, I don't even know how to explain it. And everybody that I touched base with, just through my work, made comments in reference to that. Like it was like your mind can't even really comprehend what the heck happened. It was just like huge. The body, the to extent the emotions and the mental, but the body really, to me, that's, I think, one of the things that's changed to me since June 1st is the body is no longer just a physical specimen. It's it's the same consciousness that, let's say, one of our other multidimensional aspects that just happens to have this dense composition.
Embodiment, when light workers would say that, I would never really understand it. They would say embodiment, and I just never got it. I thought I'm like, okay, that's kind of new age. I don't really get it. But now this year I get it, because as a light worker, as a sensitive person and an empath, I've been always trying to get out of my body. I've always been trying to get out. And it's, of course, through the body. And the body is this unbelievable, talk about almost a mechanism that's beyond what we think it is, beyond what we think it is, but it's going through the body, and we're the master. So anchoring it in, and I'm finding I'm doing much more physical things, which I was, let's just meditate. It's all good. The energy will straighten it out. It's much more physical now.
Yeah. It's like the body's, to me, it's, well, we have two sayings here, I am soul. And then the other one, the human is the hero. And there's a lot of reasons for the second one. To me, one, it's just first and foremost, we showed up, period. So I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you think you've done or bad, but you showed up. But so it's like, I would have these conversations like a lot of us do with the universe in these times of universal isolation, solitude. And you have these conversations, like a come to Jesus meeting. And you're like, hey, I'm the one down here doing the work. I know you're part of me, and I don't get it all, but you know what? I want to have a say so. And I think a lot of us have hit that or crossed that threshold. But now it seems like the body, it's like the human, we think multidimensional aspects. We think of, all the woo-woo, but the human itself has multifaceted, layers. And to me, the body's speaking really loud now. It's like going, hey, don't eat that, or go find some water, or, sometimes I'll get mine. It'll be eggs. Go eat some eggs right now, or whatever. But it's like, it's a louder voice now. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I would say, that is the case with me too. And it's not just, it's like physical surroundings too. Like I work part-time at in the matrix, as you say, right? And what I'm noticing is that I used to have a really hard time navigating that, super, because like I'd have to put rocks in my pot, like the whole thing and the energy. And now I'm like, look at this, like things like that. And that's a really dense physical interaction there. That kind of thing I'm noticing, not just my body's different and I'm being told to exercise more because it's, so things like that on a 3D level, which is really interesting.
That's a great point, because if you look at people like yourself, I remember coming off the streets in 2013. So this would have been, I wasn't that familiar with light workers and a lot of the terminology and stuff, but there was a lot of empath support groups and starting to read their stories, and, of course, not wanting to go into crowds and not
Mm.
really being comfortable with interacting. So I think this is a really good point. What you bring up is like a microcosm of the whole shift, because if you go online now, you don't see a lot of empath support groups.
Mm-mm.
It's turned from kind of a liability to an asset.
Mm-hmm.
I love what you said, because it's kind of a natural, a kind of a natural barometer, gauge of, hey, I'm doing okay. I can actually function out here in this dense environment, and I'm not triggered, and I'm actually, more stable on my feet than probably what I'm observing around me. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for voicing that, because I'm just now, as we're having this conversation, I'm like, you know what, that is happening. I mean, if I was in a crowd or whatever, I'd have to leave, like, or there was things that I just didn't do. I just, because of the empath thing. So now, yeah, that it just isn't. I can, if I find myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, I'm getting sucked, like, ooh, I just kind of, do the Taurus and everything, and it's fine. I can sit there and, converse or whatever. Or if it gets too much, I leave. But it's not that like I got to get out of here, because being that sensitive, you get your butt kicked. Or
Yeah.
I used to. I
Yeah.
don't really anymore. So
No.
that's nice.
That's another thing about the body too. So like it happened to me today, actually. Sometimes it happens to me on the show, like, I'm always, of course, we're always merging. And then on the show, I always approach it from the higher self perspective. Morgan taught me this 1,500 shows ago. Why don't you meet with her higher self first? And then, so boom, I do it. But every now and then I feel some energy coming in. And that's what I was getting at. It's like now my body lets me know there's more clarity in the connection, and I'm able to deal with it very quickly. Like
Yeah.
today, it actually happened to me today. And it wasn't anything about the person that I was talking to, but there was some energy that was presented. Something opened up in me, and I started to feel it in my body through this new language, which has no words. It's just basically saying, hey, there's something here. Is this yours? Is it not yours? I can't even really explain it, but it's along the lines of what you're talking about with going into that environment and discovering, hey, I'm actually able to do this.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, too, with your wealth of experience and the diversity of it. I read for many, many years a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was Far Eastern stuff like that. And I never was exposed at all to anything galactic at all. And so I met Morgan, and she's a full-blown ET. And then I got initiated and indoctrinated into that, have my own experiences, many of them since then. How does that all fit with the Far Eastern, Indian, some of the secret fraternities from the Far East, the yogis, the Shakers, and all that? How does that fit? Do they acknowledge Star Family and that type of thing?
I can only tell you from my experience and who I had contact with. That is not typically my forte either, the galactic connection, although I'm getting more of that. But what I will say is that Sadhguru, he definitely, when we were on Mount Kailash, it's like a freeway. There's stuff going on up there, and we had satsangs, and he would talk about it. That he's like, the ETs are talking to me now, it's like, I don't have enough to do without so, and that was, 5 or 6 years ago. But there was a lot of activity, and he actually acknowledged it at that point. So, just from what I've gleaned and what I've gathered, I'm in no way, shape, or form an expert on this. The Sumerians, and just like parallel with all these other teachings, it's a lot of it's galactic, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Because these teachings are so far advanced.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about it. Look at the Dogon tribe, or the Aborigines and Native Americans.
Yes.
Even what is it? The Vedas. They've got so much documentation. The blue people flying, flying objects, nuclear bombs. I mean, so I don't know. This year seems to be one in which there's more and more code coming to the surface, and therefore more memories coming to the surface.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. To me, it's getting really exciting. Uh, it's interesting watching the parallel of what's happening in the movie script, or I should say movie scripts, plural, out in the global stage, and the fact that there is a whatever power of suggestion, subliminal force, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of putting everybody in the same boat, which would be, say, quarantine, mask, and that type of thing. And I look at it from an energetic basis, like what's really happening here. On
Hmm.
one hand, I say, okay, we've all come together, the you, me, we, and it, and created this perfect design to elevate and expand us. And then on the other end, we still have the first and foremost, at least in this incarnation, the human, uh, who we know has to be in alignment with everything else for this thing to really,
Yeah.
flow properly. But so it's an interesting kind of thing. And with your travels around the world, and I mean, how are you seeing everything right now? What does it look like to you?
Well, I'm looking at you right now, and I noticed this on one of your things that you did yesterday, that behind you must have a window or something, because I can see some light code coming through from the sun. And my affinity right now is the sun.
Yeah.
The code, the code is just off the charts. It's sublime. That to me personally, that's where the elevation is coming. I got, I don't know, about maybe 5 or I don't know how many years ago, but that technology is coming through the sun.
Yeah.
So the sun, just to give you kind of a little snippet of what I see is, in Michigan, we don't get a lot of sun. Okay. I'm in Michigan, obviously. And these past 2 years, it's astounding, the sun we're getting.
Yeah.
And blue, crystal clear, no chemtrails, no, like, this is transmuting any bullshit going on down here.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't pretend to understand it, but I know what's going on. I have no doubt in my mind what's going on. When I go for a run or whatever, I look up at the sun and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's you. I trust you completely.
Yeah.
Like, that's it for me.
Yeah, there's something about that. There's something to be said for that. And that's interesting too. You brought up the chemtrails, because I look at all this stuff and I try to put as much as I can in front of me just so I can have a broader range to pull from. And I look at this whole Q thing and Trump and there's white hats behind the scenes and da 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 da. And I'm like, well, okay, well, this just doesn't add up to me, because why isn't there, like, for instance, a leader in the world that just stands up and says, hey, I'm a star seed. Hey, there's a bunch of us here. This is bullshit. This is not, whatever the case is. And I don't see that. But then, as of what, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months ago, I mean, I'm not saying the chemtrails are gone altogether, but there's not very many out there.
No, there's
There.
not.
So I think to myself, who's doing that? Now, I like your explanation a lot, because I think we give far too much credit and therefore far too much power over to other people, especially those that have a wide audience, let's just say like a president or a prime minister. But I think they're just like we are. When at the end of the day, I think they put their socks and shoes on just like we do.
They're in meat suits just like us. They're humans just like us. Yeah. But the chemtrails, I've watched it too, because I see them spraying, and I'm like, oh, they're trying, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. And I that resonates a lot. That really does, because I've seen a lot of different explanations about it. Now, the sun too, going back to what you're saying, I think this is a very important subject that we haven't talked about enough on Soul Speaks. Along with the code, the sun code, which to me, I noticed about 2016 or 2017, that started to make a shift. And then, of course, having personal communion with the sun and things happening, because that's in the category of, whether you're on the road like you 20 years or, 8 or 10 like me, where you go, is this really happening? Or am I really crazy like everybody says? But one of the things that I've noticed too, and I've seen it in pictures, I've had it in my own experiences, and that are these colors coming out. Like these colors are like, what is this? Magenta, pink, like you've never seen. Blues, these blues that are just like mind blowing, you know? I mean, that to me is more evidence in regard to validating what you're talking about. I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying.
Yeah, the colors, I see a lot of gold, you know, kind of that golden race type thing. And I'll share a story with you that I was up north. I was on Lake Michigan a week ago. This is when it was kind of that powerful week, you know, and I happened to be up there. I got out, you know, I haven't been out and I don't even know how long. And I went up to Lake Michigan, and it's part of a grid that I've been traveling, and it's very strong up there. And it was crystal clear for 2 days. I mean, it just couldn't, it was like, so I was out in it all day, you know, and you know, cause I'm a maniac, I can't get enough, you know, and I got back to the hotel about 5, and then I was going to go back out because it was that meteor, that Neowise or whatever. I was going to go out for that on the pier, you know, and I got knocked out. I mean, I was like, it was so intense. I mean, and it was sunny because it's sunny up there longer, you know, because it's further north. And I got knocked out. My body was just like, you know, slow down, number one, you know. And then I did get back up and I went out for sunset, and it was the most beautiful thing. So this pier is going out into the lake, and it's a beautiful spot, you know, it's beautiful. But people were like giddy. You know, the sun's going down and we're all on the pier and people are laughing. People are just jumping off this pier. It's hilarious. I mean, some people were in their clothes. I mean, I was attributing, I'm like, it's the sun, man. It was magical, you know, and it went on because it was light until 11 and then it was clear. So it's like, wow, this is one for the memory banks for sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, because we've spent all of our time, all of our lives, you know, reading, seeking, searching, looking for modalities, processes, disciplines, lectures, books, videos. And, you know, it's so funny because for 9 years, you know, when I reawoke or whatever, I always heard and was shown that the universe teaches in a paradoxical manner. And, you know, what you think is up is down and so and all that. But that makes so much sense to me that, you know, it's always right in front of our face. And maybe that's what this whole thing is coming back to. We don't need to, you know, understand, you know, at a human level, everything. It may be as simple as just being outside, being in the sun, being in nature, and just, you know, I've been saying this most of the year. It might be, we might find out that our biggest challenge is just getting used to what it's really our natural nature.
I think so. I mean, I don't know if I had a taste of it then or not, but it's like, wow, you know, but yeah, I would agree. The figuring out and the books, you know, I think you have to go through that, but, you know, going through the mind typically will lead you to mind stuff, you know?
Yeah. 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 I think it is part of us. I think it's part of, you know, people talk about the original blueprint, and I'm a believer that, yeah, we had an original blueprint until we came into this experience. And now we're expanding whatever blueprints or templates that had pre-existed. And I think this whole journey of the mind is a big part of our new composition. And not that we take it with us or that it leads us, but that it has assisted us in, you know, creating a broader spectrum to pull a more pure, clear 0 point, you know, from the whole thing. You said something earlier that I've heard from other people and that I can identify with too, obviously. You mentioned that because I know in the early days for me, which would have been the first 4 or 5 years, it was very organic. So it was a lot of animals, a lot of birds, a lot of nature beings. There was some divine essences that visited, apparitions and stuff, but there was never anything galactic. And I've heard a few people say in the last few months that have similar backgrounds to yourself, that they're starting to peek in. They're starting to poke their head in the door. And I ask these questions because there's a lot of people that, from their own admission, are just waking up now.
Mhm.
And I think that the highest level of channelings, transmissions, downloads, and activations come from conversations like this. So what's that been like for you? I mean, what little or lot has come through?
You mean like the galactic
Yeah,
connection?
yeah,
I'm going to be really honest with you. I mean, I question it because I don't know if it's happening or not. I mean, I follow some light workers, not very many anymore, because it confuses me and I need to get on my own thing.
yeah,
But one of the things that I get is I'm getting downloads. Like, I know that, and I'm familiar with the sun. So maybe my mind is just saying, okay, you're getting it from this, but I could be getting it. I'm sure I am getting it galactically, but I don't have a name.
yeah,
I don't have like, oh, I'm getting it from the Arcturians. Like, I don't have any of that. And to be honest with you, it's probably not good for me because I'll attach to it.
yeah. Good point.
I will.
Well, we've seen that. We've seen that in the community, and I say this in a positive way. And of course, you go through this whole, even with Morgan, I'd be like, well, why can she hear that and I can't hear it? How does she know that? I don't know, but I'm more like you, to me, there's more of a singular voice, I guess we would say that, although I've had many different essences, including galactic and elemental and all that. But it's like, I said this a couple of weeks ago, when we lay down, put our hands together at night, I was getting to the point where I like, who am I appealing to here?
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking to myself,
That's,
and these are parts of my composition. So then it became, what part of my composition do I want to connect to and, more refine? So yeah, I get what you're saying. And I just find it an interesting twist. I think personally, the galactic part of this is our most recent history. That's the way I see it. To me, that's like the closest memories we have, let's say beyond physical, although, you can make an argument for that. But yeah.
I resonate with it. I definitely, but like you said, you just said it. I really, that is true for me too. It's more of this knowing, and I'm not getting names. I'm not even getting, oh, this is where your home is, or, or was. I mean, I know I have Atlantean connections, and things like that, but in some ways that's just my journey, and I'm trying not to fight that. I know it's happening.
Yeah.
But do I have to know the details?
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say too. You saw a lot of people that were pulling in, and still do, powerful transmissions and channelings, connections of communion with specific essences. And I watched something happen toward the end of last year, going into this year, and that's where people were starting to detach from those things and not be so overly identified within their own field with that, not limiting themselves. And that's a great sign. I've had a lot of practitioners on here that have talked about, since the first of the year, their modalities have changed or dropped away. Their interaction in their client practitioner, integration has changed. It's like something's altered, and we're open enough to be able to accept that.
Yeah, I think this is a really good point. I'm so glad this came up. Because I struggled with this for a while. I'm like, what happened to my connection? Like, I had a really strong connection all of a sudden. But my husband and I have talked about this, and you've said it on your show. You said, these galactics and these beings that are supporting and helping us, they're looking at us in awe.
That's right.
Because we're now masters. We have training wheels and stuff like that, but thinking of us as ourselves as masters is difficult for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what's going on. The training wheels are off.
Yeah. You're right about that. I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I think we do need to be reminded of that. We spent so much time being small, but we are, and that's why I say that the first time I said the human is the hero, it's taken on many other reasons, which, I think the second most important one, which Morgan taught me, because, I came out saying, I am soul. I'm not only human, until she made me understand through my own misunderstanding of, or lack of understanding of embodiment. Because she'd say that to me all the time, just like your friends. But that was, you can't really find your soul till you find your human. You really can't get to a certain point until you bring in all the human. But but it's, I lost my train of thought, but I mean, it's been a hell of a ride. Oh, I know what you were saying. And yeah, we are the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, we came here and we have put ourselves in the most extreme polarity or polar environment, and pulling this stuff to the center. And we've all got our stories. And there's that old saying, life's a bitch and then you ascend.
Well, to that point, I've spent my whole life trying to get the hell out of here.
Right.
Like, okay, how many practices can I do? Like, can I be the best spiritual little warrior I can be to get out of here? And now it's like, that's what embodiment is teaching me, is the beauty is in the body.
Yeah, it is.
And it's in the ride. There's no getting out of here. There's no, that's some immaturity, of course, I still have that, but it's in the ride. So I'm enjoying it a little more, a little more. I'm enjoying it.
What did Hunter Thompson say? Bought the ticket, take the ride.
Right.
My friend used to tell me that all the time when we would go on shamanic trips. Like, what did you give me? You bought the ticket, take the ride, pal. But no, I think we're moving into a higher appreciation of it, which is really strange, because here you have this cartoonish script playing around the world. I mean, it's just like, this doesn't add up, And so you have that, or you see some people in a lot of fear, yourself or whatever, but we're actually gaining a stronger appreciation for ourselves, I guess. I guess it's just the evolution of self-love, which is really the core of this whole expansion.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, that seems to resonate in what I've gone through and what I'm going through, that the more I can love myself, and that's been a tough road. Yeah. Still is a tough road, but the more I can do that, the more it comes out, Yeah.
Yeah, that's
the love and light crowd. It's great, and I went through the love and light crowd for a while, but I'm like, it's got to be real.
Too much light is the same thing as too much dark. Like, and the love and light thing is like everything serves. Everything serves, but I think part of the reality too is that this year is that by force or flow, we're being put into a situation where we have to understand that there's the lights on the other side of that shadow. It's like you can't divorce yourself from anything, because if you divorcing yourself from part of the universe is like cutting off your arm, and then here comes the body. Like, that's not going to happen. Now, are you a practitioner
of what?
I don't know.
Yoga?
Do you work with people, or you're a yoga teacher?
I haven't been teaching yoga in quite some years. I practice every day. Okay. It's part of my practice. I'm an artist.
Oh, that's right. Now I had several people, and I remember now. Yeah. So go ahead and explain your process, because now I remember what you do.
Well, in full disclosure, I've been kind of off that path for the past couple of years. It's coming back on. It never really left, but I do that, but I'm still getting back online with that. Yeah. Energy art. So when I was doing some of my healing, I got back into art, which I practiced, I was very into as a child, a kid. And that was part of my healing when I was traveling and whatnot. And I would get some downloads from places, and then it started with people, and it would go on the canvas, and I would give it to them, and I wouldn't know what it was. I would have no idea. But it was specific what went on, and the intention was always benevolence and may this be of help. And I would give it to the person, and they would know exactly what it was. They would tell me what it was.
Wow.
But it's abstract. I love art. I love all kinds of art. So I was doing that for a while, but I think I kind of let that go and went back into the matrix of the corporate world. I needed to, for some reason. I don't know if it was time for that for me. Maybe it's coming back online, and maybe it will be something I do. I loved it.
Yeah.
And the thing is you have this energy that's on the canvas that's their higher self. It sits in a room, it sits on their wall, and it just supports them.
Wow. That's powerful. That's unique too. And I agree with you. I think, just like a lot, you mentioned this earlier, like, I think you alluded to it, where sometimes you wake up and go, where'd everybody go? It's like, what I mean? It's like, what happened? Was I imagining this whole thing?
Was it something I said?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the same with expressions. I did a lot of, I've done a lot of writing. I put it to music and do like a conscious rap thing. And I haven't been able to go there for a year and a half. And I know it's there, and I can feel it, kind of like coming into alignment, but it's still not there. But I get what you're saying. And the reason I mention this is because I've heard quite a few other people say the same thing. But I have a feeling that these, particularly the nonverbal stuff, I think is really going to start, coming out. The colors, the sounds, music, toning, things like that. I think it's really starting to come. And I was going to ask you about that too, because you mentioned something earlier. Let me go back and pull it up. You mentioned about Atlantis, and you at the same time were talking about, I believe, the galactic thing. I remember having a past life memory of Atlantis. And what stuck out in this series of memories was the fact that we didn't talk, that there was this universal tone kind of always playing, and you could almost see it in the air, and that we, everything was telepathic. And I wonder, as you were saying that, I started to think about that. I thought, it would make sense that that's coming back if we're becoming more whole. You said you had a memory or two of Atlantis. Do you recall anything specifically?
I do have a general sense of what I was doing. I've been kind of an engineer, kind of an architect type thing. And it's very strong because I am an old soul. I've been doing this for many, many, many lifetimes. And part of the reason I'm back now, I believe, is that I wanted to right any wrong that I feel like there was a wrong done in that Atlantan time, and I feel like I was on the wrong side of it, or just like I wanted to see this all the way through.
Yeah.
And I think that's coming back online. And it's funny that you were talking about the nonverbal. Of course, not funny because everything's perfect. But just before I came on, I was just lying down, kind of gathering myself. And sometimes I get ringing in the ear, which a lot of us do, right? But there was something else going on, and I've never experienced this before.
Was this today?
Yes, this was right before I got on.
Wow, tell me about it.
So I'm laying down, on my yoga mat, and I'm like, okay, just trying to, tune in, calm myself. And I'm like, wow, I'm hearing, it was almost like singing bowls, but it was something different. It was not the ring in there. I'm used to that. You know, that's like, okay, getting my attention, but it was almost far off. And you brought that up and I'm like, wow, there's something with that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I find that on these shows, not every one of them, but like I could tell the minute I flipped it on, it's like I'm talking, it's I know this sounds cliche, but like I've known you, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's deeper than that. It's like, you turn it on and you're having a conversation. You just picked up the conversation from the last one or something like that. But what I've noticed is either with myself or the other person or both, sometimes what'll happen is right before the show, there'll be some type of interface, on one end or the other or both. I've had it happen many times. So yeah, this is all, it's all making sense. I'd love to collaborate with you again. And you're so easy to talk to. I don't know how you found us or we found you, but I'm really happy. Thank you, Leilani, and whatever.
Yeah. Thank you, Leilani. Very sweet. Yeah, I've been following you and we kind of intermix with some of the same folks and everything. So I thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous, but this went way quicker than I thought.
Yeah, I know. And if I didn't have another one stacked up on, I would keep going. But
Yeah.
and I would also extend the invitation to you and your husband to come on together if you'd like to, or even for him to come on by himself, and whatever. And if you're interested in those type of collaborations, just let her know, and we'll set it up.
Okay. I will ask him. Thank you for the invitation.
Is there anything that you want to expand awareness about that you're doing, or anything that you want to?
Not right now. No. I mean, the art thing will come online, but that will go where it goes.
That's fine. I mean, but it's not our typical thing. This is a platform for the voices of the Mother Goddess and all of us. It's not really a marketing kind of thing. So, but I just out of respect, I wanted to.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be able to use my voice.
Yeah.
This means so much to me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And
we need more of it from you and all your sisters out there and those brothers who have been quiet because of suppressing that feminine within themselves. But yeah, I'll definitely be reaching out to you and pursuing further collaborations, and talk to your husband, and together, separate, whatever, we're open to it.
Sounds good.
Okay, you take care.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Todd. Bye.
Peace out.